We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. And make sure you ring that notification bell because we can come on live at any time. If you want to support this independent national college football rebel outpost with a donation, just hit that $ where you make a comment and I will get to super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We had a live show all lined up, ready to go. I'll give you the title. We had the artwork done. I've been on the phone talking about this. And then we had to switch it all up. So we prepared for one live show, ready to go, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the Florida State Money Perch emerges. And one of the things that I wanted to do, if we were going to start this YouTube channel, was going to try to give you the peek around the corner information that I could deliver to you as quick as possible. I learned that through covering other stories that we have broken on X years ago. Get the info. Once I got it nailed, once it's good and credible, get it out there as quick as I can without harming anybody, without stepping on anybody's toes that I talk with. So I had a decision to make. Work like a dog all day long to get this information to you as quick as possible, or just go with the story, with the show that we were going to have, and wait until tomorrow. But just can't do that. Today's live show was going to be, and you can guess it. You can guess it by all the news and everything. You can guess it. SEC and Big Ten versus everybody. Big Ten, SEC versus everybody. It writes itself. That was going to be the title of the live show. I had the artwork all set up. Very easy. Very easy story to talk about. My goodness, everybody is against the SEC and the Big Ten. And then out of nowhere, I get an email. I get on the phone. And now I gotta clarify what the heck am I seeing here. I read it, I ask questions, I get answered back, and now we're ready to go. Who is the Florida State Money Perch? Let me give you a quick rundown on the Florida State Money Perch. Somebody that has been in contact with us since, I believe, December 7th. What the heck? December 7th, 2022, right? 2022. I believe that's the date. Then he contacted us again, so a week later, another week later, and then we figured out the information that he was telling us. On December 26, 2022, we came out on a live show. You can go to our library of episodes, go take a look. I think it was December 26th. I think it was 2022. In which he said in a couple months from now, Florida State is going to come out in public and put their stake in the ground and say things have to change in the ACC, or we're going to do something about it. We're going to go to court. We're going to do something about it. We came out on December 26th. February 24th, 2 months later, Mike Alford said that the ACC is going to have to figure something out with revenue distribution. This cannot go on any longer. Okay, so the Florida State Money Perch delivered. And then later on that year, in 2023, the Florida State Money Perch told us all the first quarter in the next year, in 2024, the first quarter of the year, Florida State is going to take the ACC to court. That's what he was hearing. He was wrong. It did not happen in the first quarter of 2024. It happened about 11 days before the first quarter of 2024. It happened on December 19th. But pretty good. right? Pretty good. We've had a few other updates from the Florida State Money Perch over the years. Usually, yep, that's true. Yep. Usually, it's been pretty pessimistic. Not the last one. We'll get to the last one here in a little bit. But the Florida State Money Perch, I always believed, because he was told. We were told by other sources here at Peek Around the Corner, and we delivered the information to you on June 5th, 2024. He also got the information in many different ways. But Florida State was not the number one target for the Big Ten and the SEC. They just weren't. Of course, a strong candidate, an incredible brand, an emerging research university. All that is true. All that is true. All that is true. But they were not the number one, and we know that. We reported that. The Florida State Money Perch, a person who has invested time and money, sweat and tears of his own into the athletic sports of Florida State. He never said that Florida State was Big Ten number 19. He never said it was a done deal in the SEC. He's never said any of that. He has said, we got a lot of work to do. The last update from the Florida State Money Perch, the last update, he was optimistic. It came out of nowhere. In fact, it shocked BTM and Associates. It shocked them. It shocked me. We could not believe what we read. We got back to him. Florida State's perception is they have made some ground back. They've gotten some traction. Again, they're not the number one target, but they've gotten their mojo back. They've gotten some things done on the research academic side. Yeah, the football program not doing all that well, but then again, the football brand is so dynamic, so powerful, especially versus most of its competition when it comes to going to the P2, right? They're, Florida State, Miami, Clemson. It's hard to compete with that football brand, the valuable football brand. So he was optimistic. And now he's even a little bit more optimistic. But let me tell you, let me set this straight before we go on here. We've got a big show today. And again, we're going to cover this in the back half of our monologue. But I'm trying to set the table for you. This is the Florida State Money Perch. Who has been as accurate as anybody that I know out there. The things that he's told us, the things we have reported to you. When he's been pessimistic, that was accurate. Now he's being optimistic, and we'll see if that is accurate. This information is the Florida State Money Perch telling us the perception inside Florida State as of today. As of today. So this is not old. This is as of June 16th. Which is one of the reasons why I scrapped everything that I was going to do on a live show today and started over. Because everything is... Now, I don't believe anything is imminent in the Holy Smokes Theater. I still don't believe anything is imminent. Yet. But this is the Florida State's perception as of today. And here's the thing. People's perception changes. Nothing is static. Nothing has changed, but people's perception always are changing. The positioning is always changing. People are talking like crazy. And there are NDAs all over the place. Our Florida State Money Perch is not under an NDA. And neither is this guy. I don't work for anybody except for you. I'm not going to burn any of my sources, and I'm not burning this one. We've got the okay. Everything I say today, I've gotten the okay. So if you want to come at me, every time I do one of these things, people come after me. I do not work for the Big Ten. I do not work for the SEC. I don't have any sponsors. I don't have anything attached to me, except that I will not burn bridges or sources. This information is what the Money Perch is saying is the Florida State's perception as of today, which could change in a week from now, but is today. This is not information that I have been given from any other of BTM's associates, any other of our Big Ten sources, any of the chatter behind the curtain. So why am I saying this today? Why are we delivering this information? Well, because the Florida State Money Perch's track record, I know who he is. I mean, his track record is like, so we are going to give you this information. We're going to give it to you today. And you can take it however you want to take it. Do I have it sourced by another person? No, I don't. I do not. I haven't had time. Honestly, I have had no time. So, we're going to give you the information. This is the perception of the Florida State Seminoles. Now, if any Florida State Seminole fans are out there, if you've got people that you listen to or people at Florida State, whatever, you might want to ask them something here. After the show is over, you might want to ask them a few questions. Or not. It's up to you. But I'm saying this is new. This is not last week. This is up to date. And I'm not going to be able to give you all the information, but I'm going to give you enough of the information, okay, to make it worth your while. As you can see, top right corner of the screen, you've got a Big 10 quick strike list, SEC quick strike list. And that is the name, that is what was on the initial email. And I don't know what the hell that meant. It was explained to me. If the Big Ten needs to strike quickly, if the SEC needs to strike quickly, there seems to be a perception at Florida State that they have a pretty good knowledge of who is a potential quick strike candidate for a couple of different reasons. Allegedly. Because what is being said inside Florida State, what is being said outside of Florida State from some other ACC institutions, and they all seem to be singing from the same songbook. It seems like they have all the same information, according to the Florida State money perch. The money perches at these other institutions seem to have the same information. So we're going to deliver to you what that information is. And why is there a quick strike list? And is the quick strike list different than if there wasn't need to be a quick strike list? Yes, there would be. We'll get into all that. We will get into all that. So we had to change it up today. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We have got quite the show. So buckle up, brace for impact. And the Big Ten strike list and the SEC quick strike list, it does tie into this Big Ten SEC versus everybody. Because it has to do with that. But I was not going to, this was dropped on me a couple of hours ago, and I've been working like crazy. The little general is wondering what is going on. The studio, I've been working like a buzzsaw trying to get this show ready to go. I've done 2 live shows, but I'm only going to be able to deliver one to you today, and this has to be it right here. So I do want to thank everybody for coming on in. Skaven, yes. Sun Devil Ager, appreciate it. MBM, Oklahoma State Cowboy, The Boomer, Sooner, Bruce Harris, Marcus Williams, Jimmy Austin, Doc Boots is in the house. El Woody is here. Marcus Williams is now a family member once again. You are officially knighted. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. Thank you, Marcus Williams. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for becoming a new member once again to our family. Ryan Brooks, the LSU Tiger, is here. Almighty is here. Daniel Gorby, Goal Knowles. Amy is in the house. Jared Jones, the Buckeye, is here. JDB 0714, Goal Knows. We got Bruce Harris. Greg is so cold. I am not cold. I am not cold. My record in September is going to be absolutely outstanding. Thank you for the $2 holler and the $2 holler, Bruce Harris. I appreciate it. Sorry, my computer froze. Greg is so cold. Sorry, my computer froze. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Chef Maul is in the house. Kurt Cersei. What the heck is Greg talking about with the Florida State Money Perch? The Florida State Money Perch is a long-time contributor to the show, and he has been unbelievably accurate, giving us the peek around the corner, and we have been able to deliver it to you. That is the Florida State Money Perch. Army of 48 Breakaway, Go Black 45 is in the house. Jan Hulk is here. Studzilla is here. Deadeye, yo, Deadeye. Caleb Ramirez, the Mr. Buckeye. Edward, the Auburn Tiger. Amy's in the house. CFB Plus is here. Rich Austin is here. Dante's Inferno Purgatory is in the house. Rod Nix, Adam, Fong Wei Weldman is in the house. Appreciate you coming on in. D5 Terps, Mr. Terrapin, Yogi Buck is here. Florida State has always been the number 2 choice. Farmer Boys is in the house. Hoosier Dave. OBD Don, I work for Flugard Drone Service. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Who else is in the house? coverage. 555 Rock. Big Ten March to the Sea. Christopher Hooter. Money Perch is a he. Yeah. Most of them are. So I'm not really giving anything away there. Big Gun Shop is in the house. Stadzilla. Who else? Frank Pater. Razor Buck. Jose. Thanks for coming on in, Jose. Appreciate it. Arkansas Razorback. Florida State Money Perch time. Brickback is counting. Is in the house. Ad Hoc is here. Mountaineer Memes. Country Roads. All right. I think I got everybody. I believe I've got everybody. Thank you, Bruce Harris and Marcus Williams, for your generosity. I do appreciate it. As the show goes on, I will get you super chats as quick as I possibly can. And we're going to go to the phone lines as quick as we possibly can. But it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while before you get to your phone calls. So we'll get to your super chats as quick as we possibly can and other comments that I find interesting. Let's go. First of all, I don't know which I should go with first. We better do the Red Raiders. The Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now, Brendan Sorsby going to the NFL supplemental draft. So thank God that story is done. In the last couple of days, there was no way, we reported, there was no way that the Big 12 could afford to stand down. They won't back down. We did a PATC rendition of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Won't Back Down. We had to sing that song while the story was still alive. Guess what happened in the I Do Declare competition? Sorsby will not play one snap this year for Texas Tech. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina, picks up 3 points. Picks up 3 points. And then prediction number 81. Sorsby enters the NFL supplemental draft. Dave B picks up 3 points. So what happens? Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina was at -1 point because he got the first I Do Declare prediction wrong, stating that a certain quarterback was going to at least start one game for North Carolina Tar Heels, and he's already left the program. So Preston is at +2. Dave B is at +3. Dave B is in first place in the PATC I Do Declare World Championship competition. So congratulations to Dave B. Congratulations. All right. But we're going to get away from that story because the story has concluded. I think everybody's got fatigue from it. But let's talk about the spotlight. Who is under the spotlight for today? Well, none other than the Texas Tech Red Raiders. No better time. No, Jose. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina was at -1 before he got that correct. So he's at +2. Dave B is in first place all alone with +3. Preston is in second place, +2. All right. The Red Raiders, the 52nd team under the PATC spotlight we have done thus far this offseason. So let's do the Red Raiders. Then I got a bone to pick with On 3. And then we'll get to the Florida State Money Perch story. Big story that we have to do today. We just received it today. Been working like crazy to make sure we could get it to you today. Red Raiders, you are under the spotlight. And what a spotlight it is. Starting with the quarterback. Now, Kirk Francis, the transfer from Tulsa, who played 10 games last year, he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Red Raiders in week 1, week 2. I don't know about week 3. There was a report out today that said that Will Hammond might not even be ready until October. That injury to his leg, I don't know, guys. I do not know about this. But on the spotlight, we're going to have Will Hammond here. He played 8 games last year, 680 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 63.3 completion percentage, 131 quarterback rating, 299 yards rushing, 7 average per rush, 5 rushing TDs. So in the 8 games that he played, he only threw for 680 yards. Ran for almost 300 yards. He used his legs, right? But he had an injury to his leg. So, I don't know. Will Hammond, he's got a lot of... He looked pretty impressive last year as a first-time starter because of injuries at Texas Tech. Is he a good enough quarterback? Is he going to be better than the Red Baron Morton from last year? Probably not. Probably not. And I got to be honest with you. Kirk Francis, the quarterback that the Red Raiders picked up, who's supposed to be a third stringer this year, who's going to have to start at least a couple of games for the Red Raiders, if not the first month. Kirk Francis, I don't know. He's not even good enough to be Tulsa's quarterback, to be honest with you. So the Red Raiders, they have some issues at quarterback. However, Rod Nix, 2 items on the docket tomorrow. A request for a revision to the Florida State Athletic Association bylaws and a closed session athletic update with Michael Alford. I'm going to have to go on the Florida State's the Board of Regents schedule and take a look at that. Take a look at that. Go Black 45. I'm going to be... I've got that NFL PA and NBA PA letter ready to show you all. We've got a lot of stuff to get through. So buckle up, brace for impact. I'll get you super chats as fast as possible. The other comments I will try to get to, and your phone calls are going to have to wait a while. I do apologize, but when we've got all this information, we got to give it to you as fast as we possibly can. Will Hammond, I don't know if he's the answer, but he's probably the only shot they got for the Red Raiders to win a Big 12 championship. Again, we don't know the health of Will Hammond. We just don't know. Is he going to be back for week 3 against Houston? I don't know. The last report that I heard was no, they do not expect him back for week 3. However, the Texas Tech Red Raiders are absolutely stacked beyond the quarterback position. Take, for instance, the running back backfield. Cameron Dickey, over 1,100 yards rushing, 5.4 average per rush, 14 rushing touchdowns, 25 receptions, 224 yards receiving, 9 yards average per reception, 2 receiving touchdowns. Cameron Dickey was phenomenal last season. Absolutely phenomenal. RB1 for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. very tough. Very tough to bring down. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, Greg, the Red Raiders have more than Cameron Dickey in the backfield. I know they do. But there's only so many guys that I can spotlight. And the Red Raiders have got guys all over the roster. This team is absolutely loaded. Jacoby Williams, a great running back for Texas Tech. 868 yards rushing. 5.6 average per rush. 35 receptions out of the backfield. Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams can catch the ball out of the backfield. And that is going to help Will Hammond or Kirk Francis, whoever the quarterback shall be. They have an outstanding backfield for the Red Raiders. Absolutely outstanding. The tight end, Terrence Kata. 55 receptions, 624 yards receiving, 11.3 average per reception, 5 receiving touchdowns. PFF, Pro Football Focus, just came out with an article today, and Terrence Carter was basically the front of the article. He was like 4th in PFF in broken tackles. An outstanding year for the number of targets that he received, what he did with those targets. Terrence Carter, he came from the Sun Belt. I believe he came from Louisiana a couple of years ago. You've got to give Texas Tech a lot of credit. Not only, again, they invest a lot of money, right, in getting in the portal, but they have recognized the correct talent. They recognized Terrence Carter. They got him, they used him, and he was brilliant last year. Now they did get a guy in the portal that I'm not going to be able to spotlight here. From Pittsburgh, Kenny Johnson, who was a bright spot in the Pittsburgh passing offense last year. Another 49 receptions, almost 700 yards receiving. I mean, my goodness. Kenny Johnson, Terrence Carter, Cameron Dickey, Jacoby Williams, and there's more. There's others. Minka Hudson is a wide receiver that they think is going to emerge this year. But the Red Raiders are even more stacked on defense. Believe it or not, they're even more stacked on defense. Yes, they lost the great linebacker Rodriguez, but they got Ben Roberts. Ben Roberts is coming back. He was the Big 12 championship MVP. I think he was. I sort of have that memory anyways. I should have looked it up before I said it in the microphone. But Ben Roberts was a big-time player for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, usually in the shadow of Rodriguez. But that Big 12 championship game, Ben Roberts dominated. 44 solo tackles, 90 combo, assistant and solo tackles, 4 tackle for losses, 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions for Ben Roberts as a linebacker for the Red Raiders. But again, that's not all. That's not all. The Red Raiders, they went to the portal and they got Trey White, from San Diego State, 19 and a half sacks over the last 2 years. And then they got one of the best, if not the best, portal players coming out of the MAC conference last year. The Miami, Ohio Redhawks, do it all, Adam Trick. 12 and a half tackle for losses. The Red Raiders scooped up incredible talent in the portal. But that's not all on their defense. It's not even close to all. We haven't even talked about the leader in the Big 12 in interceptions last year. First team all Big 12, the leader of the secondary is Bryce Pollock. 30 solo tackles, 48 combination, 4 tackle for losses, 5 interceptions. Just incredible. The defense is absolutely stacked. They're going to be phenomenal this year as well. The schedule, well, again, you can look at this schedule two different ways. You can look at this schedule and say to yourself, if they only had Brandon Sorsby. But they don't. They got Kirk Francis as the starter, who was brutal last year for Tulsa. He starts against Abilene Christian. Then they go on the road against a Pac-12 Oregon State team. And then it is that Friday night game at home against Connor Wegman, Amari Thomas, the great wide receiver, that really good defense they got at Houston coming back again this year. Wow. Is Will Hammond going to be ready for week 3? If not, October 3rd is the next Big 12 game at Colorado. Can they survive a Houston and Colorado game without Will Hammond? Then they're at home against Arizona State. Will Hammond's got to be back for that. They finished the season Arizona, Cincinnati, Arizona, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU. They play TCU on Thanksgiving. The Red Raiders do not play BYU. The Red Raiders do not play Utah. But they do play Arizona. They do play Houston. And hopefully for the Red Raiders, they have a very healthy Will Hammond. Because if not, let me ask you the question. Knowing what you know, the Red Raiders stacked with a lot of talent on offense and defense, especially on defense. Should PATC keep the Red Raiders at number 1 in our order of finish prediction for the 2026 season? Do we keep them there? Woo! Our final prediction will come in the month of August. I'm going to wait to see more reports on Will Hammond. And then we'll make our final prediction. But BYU, Utah, Houston, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, TCU, everyone's going to be waiting to see what the quarterback position is at Texas Tech. But the rest of the team, absolutely stacked. So for right now, I'm not going to move them out the number 1 line. You let me know where you've got the Red Raiders. You let me know how wrong I got it once again. But I think the Red Raiders are just like last year. They may even be more talented this year. Even though they lost Rodriguez, they might be even more talented this year if you do not count the quarterback position, which you can't do. It's the most important position in college football. All right. Before we get on to the big story of today, we gotta thank Mohr After Dark for a big old super chat. Greg is so cold that I had a good joke about his inability to burn sources. However, YouTube AI deemed it unsuitable because it can't understand humor and clear sarcasm. Sorry, PATC family. I'm not sorry, Moen. I'm not sorry that you cannot get that joke through AI. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, YouTube AI. Very much appreciate it. And Moen, I appreciate your $10 holler. Thank you so very much. And Moen, you might want to stick around for this next part. You might want to stick around for this next part because I don't know if you want to call it Golden Gopher propaganda or not. I'm going to call it Golden Gopher reality. Golden Gopher reality. I gave the little general a warning before I came in the studio and started this live show. I gave her a warning that at the beginning of this show, you're going to hear a loud voice, and it was going to be mine. Because I've got a bone to pick with On3 and every other national college football reporter, and I'll include all the college football YouTube channels, including College Football Mafia Show. It's time I lay it down. So hold on for that, Mohr After Dark. Hold on for that. Marcus Williams, do we call this a quick silo list, Greg? Not quite. Not necessarily having to do with the silo, or it could have to do with the silo. Not quite. That's my answer. Well, we'll get into it, Marcus Williams. Thank you for 19 months, another early P Cloak and Dagger membership coming from Marcus Williams. I very much appreciate it, sir. Thank you so very much. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Did not mean to do that. Thank you, Marcus Williams. My answer to that as of right now is not quite. We'll get to the story, Marcus. We will get to the story. As perceived by Florida State. Not the chatter behind the curtain, not by other associates from BTM, but Florida State. The money Perch is letting us know the Florida State perception at this time. Okay. Before we get into that, I gotta say something here. This is a national independent college football YouTube channel. I rarely talk about the Golden Gophers. But once in a while, I have to. Once in a while, I have to talk about my Golden Gophers. Sometimes in a negative fashion. Last year, I called them the worst 6-2 team in college football, the worst 6-3 team in college football, the worst 8-5 team in college football. Sometimes I have to say something positive about the Golden Gophers because I really, truly feel something positive about the Golden Gophers. Always, over the last 4 years, I have always mentioned that no matter what outlet it is, no matter what national outlet it is, that during the off season, going into the season, Nebraska is always considered a better team than Minnesota. It does not matter. It does not matter what Minnesota has done in the past, what Nebraska has done in the past. It doesn't matter. I bring this up in 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. Every time I bring it up, most of you are rolling your eyes going, oh, there goes Greg again. There goes Greg again. It doesn't matter if they're talking about win total, if they're giving out their prediction. Nebraska is above Minnesota. I want to say almost every time, but it's basically every time. No matter how they look at it, no matter which angle they look at it. Nebraska is always giving them the props over Minnesota. Always. Always. Even the win totals going into this season. Now, I do have to say, the number is starting to spike for the Gophers. Like the Gophers are the biggest mover in the win totals because people are finally waking up that this Gopher team they're not the young team last year anymore. They brought everybody back except for Perch, who missed every time. We won't talk about that. Let me just show you something. This is not what I'm upset about. Please give me a little bit of time to get this off my golden Gopher chest. I do this one time every off season. Today is the time. Today is the day, because I saw something today that I almost stroked out on. Hold on. For example, it doesn't matter what you look at. It does not matter what you look at. Where the heck is it? Here it is. Minnesota, this is FanDuel. Minnesota over 6.5 wins, plus 128. Minnesota under 6.5 wins, minus 158. Nebraska over 6.5 wins, plus 122. Nebraska under 6.5 wins, minus 150. So basically, Nebraska is just a tiny bit of a favorite over Minnesota in the FanDuel win total over and under. Minnesota has gone from 5.5 wins to 6.5 wins in rising. So take a look. I just wanted to, even in Vegas, in everybody's win totals, in everybody's predictions, everybody's got Nebraska stacked ahead of Minnesota. But during the season, Minnesota is ahead of Nebraska every single year. The Gophers have beaten Nebraska the last 6 times. Minnesota has finished above 500 in the Big Ten the first 2 years of the 18-team Big Ten Conference. The majority of the time in the last 9 years, Minnesota has finished above 500 in the Big Ten. Nebraska has not finished above 500 in the Big Ten for the last 9 years. I'm not trying to pick on Nebraska. I'm just saying. Nebraska's got more money, right? They got more resources, right? They have high recruiting classes, right? Right? But they can't beat Minnesota. They can't finish ahead of Minnesota. So what do I see today? Take a look at this. Ari Wasserman. I like Ari Wasserman. I like his personality. I love listening to him. He's a lot easier listen than listening to me, the fat guy from Minnesota with my heavy northern Minnesota accent. Ari Wasserman does a good job. Big Ten coach rankings. Kirk Cignetti, Indiana. Kyle Whittingham, Michigan, number 4, given an example. Matt Rule, Nebraska, number 10. All right. So Ari Wasserman must have PJ Fleck, number 7, number 8, number 9. Kirk Cignetti 1. Ryan Day 2. Dan Lanning 3. Kyle Whittingham 4. Kirk Ferentz 5. Lincoln Riley 6. Brett Bielema 7. Jed Fish 8. Matt Campbell 9. Matt Rule 10. PJ Fleck 11. Now, normally, I know some of you are thinking, why is Greg getting so... Greg does all these rankings. Greg doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Greg's ranking all the quarterbacks in the spotlight. We don't agree with him. Fine. But how in the hell can you have Matt Rule ahead of PJ Fleck? Again, it happens all the time. What is going on? Why is Nebraska always ahead of Minnesota in everything during the offseason for years? But yet what happens on the football field is completely different. Look what Wasserman said. Ari Wasserman, we are still waiting for things to click for Rule at Nebraska. We are still waiting for things to click for Rule at Nebraska. Last season started with a ton of hope, but the wheels eventually fell off. You're waiting for things to click it. We've all been waiting for 10 years. Because there's a lot of hope. That's all it takes to be ahead of Minnesota, like every single year. Is the brand everything? And I finally figured it out. And then it says about PJ Fleck. Gophers have been consistently successful. The Gophers have been consistently successful. But, we got to have Matt Rule ahead of PJ Fleck. We got to have it. We got to have it. And then I finally figured it out. It hit me like a lightning bolt. As I'm sitting here having a stroke, I finally figured it out. This is why Ari Wasserman, this is why these national reporters do not want a 2014 playoff. They don't want a 2014 playoff. They don't want a 2014 playoff because they don't want to have to, because they just want the big brands in the playoffs. They just want to talk about the big brands in the playoffs. They don't want to talk about the little guy. They don't want to talk about the little guy in the SEC and the Big Ten. It's more, I don't know why, but they are addicted to the big brand. What metric would you ever have Matt Rule ahead of PJ Fleck right now? Last year? The year before? The 2 years that Matt Rule has been the head coach against PJ Fleck? The Gophers waxed them. The Gophers have finished ahead of Nebraska. What would it take? What would it take? On 3, ESPN, Fox, Big Ten Network. What would it take for you guys to actually have Minnesota ahead of Nebraska? What would it take? Every year, I listen to Steve Sipple, that Sorensen guy, 93.1 or 93.7, Nebraska. I listen to that program a lot. They do a great job. Every year during the off season, every year, they get to August, Nebraska's going to finish 4th and 5th in the Big Ten, and the Gophers are going to finish 12th or 13th. Every single year. Then after the season, they sit there and they go, we should have PJ Fleck as the coach. Oh, they're so much better than we are. Oh, they kick our butts every year. Then the next off season, everybody falls in the same. And you know what? That's not just happening in Minnesota. That is happening across the country. It's big brand-itis. The biggest example of this is BYU. ESPN didn't even have BYU on their screen when they were comparing the top candidates to go to the college football playoffs. They couldn't even have BYU on the screen because it didn't fit their big brand. That's why they don't want the 2014 playoff. They don't think we deserve to have a 2014 playoff. They don't think the teams that are not the biggest brands, they don't deserve to be considered to go to the. They don't want to water down the playoffs. Josh Pate predicted Nebraska last year to go to the playoffs. What is going on out there? Every single one of you has fallen for this. 9 straight years. Nebraska can't finish above 500. And yet you've got them ahead of Minnesota again. You know what's going to happen this year? Book this. Book this. This is Greg the Gold talking right now. Greg the Gold. You know what's going to happen this year? The Gophers are going to finish ahead of Nebraska. They don't play each other. Thank God for Nebraska. Minnesota is going to finish ahead of Nebraska. Book it. You got the tape rolling? Clip that out. Clip that out. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Greg the Gold guarantee. All right, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. My goodness. Wasserman. I love you, Ari Wasserman. I love all of you. But you got to get over this Branditis. Under what metrics would anybody have Matt Rule ahead of PJ Fleck? There is no metric. All right, Kenneth Maynor. We're going to get to our big story right now. That Kenneth Maynor, Pirate Gator Maynor Super Chat. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. $10 holla. Don't be surprised if the SEC moves to unequal revenue sharing in the next few years to benefit the legacy brands. Schools like Clemson and Florida State likely will not get shares equal to Georgia and Florida. I think all that is a possibility. If there is an early renegotiation media rights with the SEC and ESPN, and if ESPN is willing to renegotiate early with the Southeastern Conference, ESPN might say, okay, we'll give you more money. There are probably going to be more conference games. But if you guys expand, the pro rata thing's got to be thrown out. We've got to do it by case basis. I would not be surprised with all of that. So, you could be right, Kenneth Maynor. You could absolutely be right. We're going to find out in the next few years. Thank you for the $10 holla, Kenneth Maynor. I appreciate it. Appreciate your incredible generosity so much. We've got a massive super chat from the purple and gold. From the purple and gold. And I need more water. After going crazy like that, I do apologize. That was unprofessional. I do that about once every 6 months. But when I saw that, OBD done. Greg, you need to eat a triple cheeseburger to lower your blood pressure so you don't stroke out, my friend. You know what?
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing.
The old cheeseburger. I might have to eat a double cheeseburger, OBD done. Triple cheeseburger, out of the question. I might have to eat that Wisconsin abomination. The cheesification of America, the great conspiracy. I might have to eat a double cheeseburger with 2 types of cheese live on this program because that Protect College Sports Act has got more and more and more support today. I am going to use your super chat as a segue to talk about that. And then we'll talk about the Florida State money perch because it is... But we have to talk about the Protect the Sports Act first because that's a tie-in to the Florida State Money Perch information. I can't eat a triple cheeseburger, OPD done, but I might have to eat a double cheeseburger because I said there was no way that bill was going to pass. And if it passed, I would eat a double cheeseburger live with 2 different types of cheeses. Thank you, OPD Dunn, for your incredible generosity. And I'm going to use your incredible generosity as a segue into the news, more news on what is going on here. My goodness. Let me see if I can find it first. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Woo, boy. The National Football League, Heather Dinich. Thank you for the 190 people that are in the chat right now. I appreciate you. Make sure you smash that like button. If you are enjoying our content, subscribe and ring that notification bell. Heather Dinich, ESPN. The National Football League. Applaud Senators Ted Cruz, Maria Cantwell, Eric Schmidt, and Chris Coons for their bipartisanship leadership in introducing the Protect the College Sports Act of 2026. Healthy, stable, and thriving collegiate athletics is essential to the future of college sports, including Olympic sports. And this legislation is an important step to achieving that for the benefit of all college athletes and institutions alike. By utilizing proven models like the voluntary pooling of media rights under the Sports Broadcasting Act, which supports broad and fan-friendly distribution of NFL games, this legislation will support college athletics and ensure fans will be able to access their favorite games across today's changing media landscape. The league looks forward to continued working with congressional leaders as this bill moves through the legislative process. That is from the NFL. Heather Dinich, a joint statement from the NFLPA and NBAPA. I'm not going to read all that. As you can, more support for the Cruz-Cantwell bill. Early on, late last night, it was reported by Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports. Let's take a look at it. Little to no changes were made to the Title II of the bill, which means the portions of the bill that the SEC and the Big Ten oppose the most remain in the legislation. So Cruz and Cantwell, they're not working with the Big Ten and the SEC. This bill is not written for the Big Ten and the SEC. This bill targets the Big Ten and the SEC. So now the question, if this thing passes the Senate, and it could get to 60 votes, and I still believe it's highly questionable to pass the House, and they got to get it done before the August recess. So we're going to know how this story plays out during June and July and into August, early August. If this thing looks like it has a chance to pass, what does the Big Ten and the SEC do? They're not going to pool their rights together with the other conferences. The bill takes away their sovereignty from making choices on conference expansion. It does not take away the sovereignty of all the other conferences. The most brutal part of this bill, which not a whole lot of people are talking about, but the Big Ten and the SEC, they're talking about it and they know about it, are two things. One, this bill is going to give the student athletes all the space they need to sue this, whatever contraption we're building here. They're still going to be able to sue the crap out of it. It doesn't solve anything. This literally doesn't solve anything other than it keeps the Big Ten and the SEC membership the way they are at this point in time. But the other point of this bill, it gets the government foot in the door. As Greg Sankey asked in his letter that wasn't probably answered, definitely not in the affirmative, Sankey said, who is going to hold authority. Because in this bill, it is not clear. This skinny antitrust exemption. Nothing is clear on who has the authority. Who has the authority if the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC want to move the rev share cap up? Who has the authority to make changes? Who has this authority? The Big Ten and the SEC believes that this bill creates an opportunity for the government to eventually have the authority. Regulation, fine. Guardrails, kind of fine. Authority, complete authority over time, not fine at all. So what does the Big Ten and the SEC do? Everybody's jumping on this bill. It is the Big Ten and the SEC versus everybody, which was going to be the title of this show. But the Florida State money perch came off the top rope, and we're going to have to talk about it right now. Thank you so much, Marcus Williams. Thank you so much for the super chat. Very much appreciated, sir. $2 holler. It is. It is and it isn't. And I say this because the Florida State money perch talks about this in a much broader term. In his communication with us, he focused on the Saving College Sports, Protecting College Sports Act. The terms that he used was, this might speed up Florida State's perception. Florida State's perception is the Big Ten and the SEC have a certain timetable of execution. And their timetable is early 2028. That is what their perception is of the Big Ten and the SEC timetable. It is probably why Michael Alford said the next 24 months are so important to Florida State. Remember he said that? Because Florida State, because everybody's positioning right now, everybody's talking right now, there is no real concrete offers, but everybody's talking, this is what we can do, this is what we can do, this is what we're doing to grow our research, this is what we're doing with the facilities, this is what you can trust us, we want to be part of your association. All this positioning is going on. But it's more, this communication did not completely focus on silo. Basically it was the Big Ten and the SEC speeding up their permanent conference membership before this act takes in full effect. In other words, what is going on Capitol Hill could possibly speed up the Big Ten and SEC's decision. The bill is written like with 75%. You need 75% of everybody to pool their rights together and blah, 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 blah. Well, what if the SEC and Big Ten, what if their association is bigger, is so big that you can't get 75% no matter what? Just one example. So that is what the Florida State money perch was getting at. And we're gonna give you the list right now. We're gonna go through it. OBD done, $5 holla. The bad thing is if you let government into your home, then they're not stopping at just football. Thank you for the $5 holler. OBD done. I appreciate your generosity like always. Thank you so very much. Dante's Dante's Inferno Purgatory Conference acceleration. He did not use that phrase, but that's basically what he's saying. Again, this is coming from before we show you this list and we explain this list. This is from the Florida State Money Perch. He has told us this is Florida State's perception. And the Florida State Money Perch, when he could show you how accurate he was, he's been dead on. And I gave those examples already. So, this is his list. It does not include Notre Dame. The very first question that we asked was, there's no Notre Dame on this list. And Florida State does not believe that Notre Dame is going to play until there's action before they play. Notre Dame is not going to be a player in this until there's activity before they come to play. That is Florida State's perception. So Notre Dame is not on this list. Virginia and Virginia Tech are not on this list. We asked a bunch of questions. He believes that the Virginia and Virginia Tech are completely frozen. He used the word frozen, not paralyzed. He doesn't think that they could be available for a quick strike from the Big Ten and the SEC. The people that he talks to at Florida State and other people, they just don't think they are ready for the quick strike. What is going on at the state of Virginia, at the governmental level, and all that stuff, they don't think they are available. If it wasn't later on, yes. For a quick strike, no. So I wanted to get those three out of the way. He also doesn't list any Big 12 schools on the quick strike list. We asked him, that because you're an ACC guy, you mostly talk with ACC guys. And he said, again, Florida State's perception that the Big 12 would not be available for a quick strike because there is some entanglement with the Big 12 Gore. They just don't have that they don't have that space, that quick space to get out if the Big 10 and the SEC decided on the quick strike. We went through that. So, Notre Dame is not on this gentleman's list that Florida State believes is on the list for the quick strike. Doesn't believe that this Virginia's Tech or Virginia is on it. Doesn't believe that any Big 12 school is on it. Does not believe that Georgia Tech is on it. And I got to say, a lot of great things about Georgia Tech. We've talked about it. I've also told you that among the money purchase, and he's picking up the same thing. Georgia Tech might end up in the Big Ten. For all the reasons that you and I have talked about the last couple of years. But it is quite evident they're not the ones that are being aggressive like the other schools. For whatever cultural reasons that there is, academic reasons. I know they just lost their president. He's going somewhere else. Very successful president. Georgia Tech is not on the list. So let's focus on who is on the list and why. According to the Florida State Money Perch, this is Florida State's perception on who is on the quick strike, Big Ten and SEC. I will get to your super chats. Thank you very much for all your support. I appreciate it. I will get to your super chats after we get done with this. All right? Big Ten quick strike list, according to Florida State, their perception, and this is in no order. It's not 1 through 4. Miami, Duke, Clemson, Florida State. All the people that Florida State talked to, this is what they think would be on the Big Ten quick strike list. Of all the people that Florida State talked to, Florida State's perception is that the Southeastern Conference quick strike list does include North Carolina State, does include Clemson, does include Florida State and North Carolina. Again, it does not include Virginia or Virginia Tech. So, you can imagine, for a couple of hours, we went back and forth trying to understand what Florida State is thinking. This gentleman is not under an NDA and PATC. We are not under an NDA. I will just say this, allegedly. Everything that we are reporting to you tonight, allegedly. All right, lawyers? Allegedly. We'll go to the Southeastern Conference quick strike list first. Florida State believes that if the SEC gets so I don't really want to use the words he used because that might so I'll use the words I would use. The SEC is, if they get to be so, they come on, we all know. I mean, this Cantwell bill, this Cantwell Cruz bill, they're not only looking at as, they're looking at this as a possible destruction of the Southeastern Conference. You might not think that. 90% of you might not think that. The Southeastern Conference thinks that. They're not putting that out there in public. They're not right. They're not going to say to Cruz and Cantwell, you're trying to destroy a conference. But that's what they believe is what's going on. And they know who wrote this bill. They know what private equity wrote this bill. So if the Southeastern Conference acts, Florida State believes, according to the Florida State Money Perch, they're going to act, and they're going to act big. Just like what we believed a couple of years ago, the big scoop theory, the transformation. And that is how he explains the North Carolina State. Because the SEC thirsts for North Carolina Chapel Hill. They want them in the fold. They want that whole state, that flagship school in the fold. And if they can now if they got to take North Carolina State, they'll do it. According to the Florida State Money Perch. So Florida State believes that North Carolina State is on the quick strike list. And they believe Clemson is on the quick strike list. And they believe they themselves are on the quick strike list. That they are ready to go. Florida State would be able to go immediately. Clemson would be able to go immediately. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I will get you super chats and your phone calls as soon as possible, but we are definitely not there yet. Definitely not there yet. Hold on. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. So Florida State, the money perch, again, This is tying into his last comments of a couple of months ago, where for the very first time in about 18 months, he was more optimistic. More optimistic about Florida State's chances to get to the P2. And now with everything that is going on with everybody versus the SEC and the Big Ten, that's not the word he uses. Those are the words I would use. He believes Florida State is in a really good position because the Southeastern Conference knows that Florida State could deliver quickly. Clemson could deliver quickly. North Carolina, their number one target, and even the Florida State Money Perch says this. Everybody says this. If you want to get North Carolina, you want to do it quickly, you got to take North Carolina State. Florida State believes that. But Florida State also believes that the SEC could take 4 schools, especially if the silo comes into play. But this is about the Southeastern Conference screwing with this bill. That's the angle that the Money Perch is talking about. That is the angle that the Florida State people believe could happen. A permanent conference membership before any of this before Donald Trump signs a bill that the Senate and the House passes. The invitations are granted out. The money somehow appears in the ACC bank account. And they join in 2028. But the deal is done. In the Big Ten quick strike list. Now again, a lot of this is based upon Florida State's communication. Again, everybody's talking. Florida State believes that door, and we've said it over and over again, Florida State not the number one target, but that door is not closed. Florida State believes they've got a shot, a quick strike shot. Again, we've talked about it, the great blend that they would have with Miami. So Florida State has 2 shots on the quick strike list here. Now, again, this guy's from Florida State. So again, he might be biased. But we're talking about a Money Perch who has not been optimistic until about a couple of months ago. He told us he was very negative over the last 2 years. So this is not a guy who just simply says things to make himself feel better. He's been dead on this whole time. He believes that the Florida State Seminoles, if asked to deliver quickly to the Big Ten, that they could do it with Miami in tow. Miami is an obvious. Miami would be ready. Florida State knows that. In fact, Florida State, that's cool with them because that is their ticket to the Big Ten. Miami is Florida State's ticket to the Big Ten as an option to get to the Big Ten. They know that. They know that. This is just not something that we talk about at Peek Around the Corner. They know that. Duke, that's an easy one. Obviously, they can go right away. We asked about California and we asked about Stanford. Florida State does not believe that they would be able to deliver quickly and move on a dime to go to the Big Ten. We had a lot of questions about that. Florida State just doesn't believe it. They don't believe that they are in play. Maybe Florida State's wrong, but they do not believe they are in quick strike play for the Big Ten, for their media partners. Every one of these are a brand, except for North Carolina State. And of course, we know the North Carolina State situation, Board of Governors. And Stanford and California are not. This is a quick strike where you can get all the presidents aligned, the media companies aligned, the schools can deliver, they can get out. Everybody knows their pathway out. You can, so Clemson. Let's go to Clemson here. Now, we've never had the Clemson thing is first of all, just so everybody knows, Clemson is the gentleman definitely had Clemson on the Big Ten quick strike list. And when I read this today, and I had scrapped the show that we were going to do, I thought about the Cloak and Dagger for members only episode that we dropped last week. The whole Clemson and Kevin Gusowich thing, that is such we called it Clemson's big move. And I don't really know how much of it has to do with possible realignment. But if Clemson ever wanted to get to if they ever wanted to give all the best chance that they possibly could to be a Big Ten school, to have that option open, then the hiring of Kevin Gusowich would be the hire. So Clemson's super long shot to the Big Ten is now a long shot to the Big Ten. That's how I perceive it. A couple of people have talked with me. There is a chatter behind the curtain, a local chatter behind the curtain in the state of South Carolina for the last 2 years have communicated with me about Clemson Big Ten aspirations. They know it's a long shot, but they do not want to give it up. Clemson, when they filed the suit against the ACC, Clemson wanted to talk with the Big Ten. There are ways for Clemson to talk with the SEC, third party, but they really wanted to talk with the Big Ten. They want to keep their options open. They're looking at AAU in 2035. I don't know if they're going to get there. But Kevin Gusowich is the guy that wanted to take North Carolina to the Big Ten, if that became an option. That was before the suit that happened between Florida State and Clemson to the ACC sued them and they sued them back. That was before all of that. Kevin Gusowich was caught in a rock fight at Chapel Hill. He basically got booted out. He left on his own. He went to a Big Ten university, and then he leaves to go to Clemson. One of the most popular presidents out there. Not with just Tom Izzo, who called him the best president he has ever seen. So again, Florida State, they perceive Clemson to be on the Big Ten list. Quick strike list, which is different than the non-quick strike list, right? Again, I want to make this clear. This is coming from the Florida State money perch. It's not coming from the chatter behind the curtain. It's not coming from any other big BTM, Big Ten man associates. But it's coming from a man who has been dead right about everything since December 7th of 2022. That we can know of, that he's been dead right about. Does he believe that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to strike quickly? No, of course not. But this is what Florida State perceives the situation today. These are the schools that are willing and able to get it done. And one more thing before we get to your super chats and phone call. This whole communication that happened today that put me in a tizzy it was circled around, not about silo, breakaway. That none of that was really in the information. It had to do with Florida State's perception on what the Big Ten and the SEC will do because of this bill, this Cruz and Cantwell bill. So I want to make that perfectly clear. I don't know if that is the correct way for Florida State to think. I don't know, maybe it is. But that's where they're getting at. They're saying, because remember, Florida State did not sign support onto that bill. Now, North Carolina and North Carolina State both kind of did. But I think they kind of had to. But the rest of these schools on this list did not. So that is what the Florida State Money Perch is trying to tell us. And now I sit back here and I have questions. I have lots of questions. My number one question is, and this has to be answered. Let's say that this bill is going to pass. The House and the Senate. And there's not too many difference. It doesn't change much. Not too many different markups. Ross Dellinger reported last night that there was no compromise with the Big Ten and the SEC on anything they wanted to change. What if it looks like it's going to pass? And again, you might disagree with the Big Ten and the SEC on this, but they think this bill guts their future because it gets the government controlling authority down the line. And there's nothing that the SEC and the Big Ten can do about it. So, my question is, what can the SEC and the Big Ten do at that point? If this is about to pass, do they completely break away from the NCAA? Is Marcus Williams correct? And the Florida State Money Perch just isn't calling it because it's not in his vocabulary right now. Is this a quick strike list silo? And is the Florida State, does that university, do they have this nailed down? Because this is their perception. I know who this gentleman is. I know how accurate he is. I can tell you this Florida State Money Perch is accurate in telling us what the Florida State's perception is. I almost can guarantee you that because of who he is. I just cannot guarantee you that Florida State's got this right. All right, let's go to your super chats. Let's get to your phone calls. I appreciate everybody joining us. Again, the Florida State Money Perch has a long track record here at Peek Around the Corner. And I hope that means something to you people. Maybe it does. Long-time watchers and listeners, that means a whole lot, I think. We've got Jeremy Nork. This is PATC action, peak PATC action right here. Thank you very much, Jeremy Nork. Thank you for the $5 holler. I very much appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for your generosity, helping us keep the lights on. We got a super chat from Christopher Hooter. $2 holler. Quick strike, all ACC scoop. Sounds like ESPN SEC. Now, he did give the reasons why there were no Big 12 teams that Florida State thought that there could be a quick strike on. The quick strike is his lingo. He did not use the lingo of silo. That's our lingo, I guess. We're the only ones that are using it. So he did inform us that there is no Big 12 schools that they believe that the Big 10 and the SEC can quickly pick up to strike against this bill, to screw it all up, at least a part of it, and to go silo. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. I very much appreciate it. Caleb Ramirez. New membership, 30 months member. 30 months, the member of our family. You are Knighted Cloak and Dagger. Thank you so much for being a part of our family. Caleb Ramirez, thank you so very much, Mr. Buckeye. I think North Carolina State, Clemson, Georgia Tech to SEC, Duke, Stanford, Cal, Florida State, Miami, Notre Dame to the Big Ten. I think that's the final one. Thank you, Caleb Ramirez. Again, thank you very much. Let's get to your phone calls. I know a lot of you have been waiting a long time to give us a call. The phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. When you call, the floor is yours. The floor is completely yours. In a super chat, you can talk about whatever you want. Comments, other comments, I will pick and choose depending on what the subject is.
Call from
Mowing.
The Buckeye.
Greg.
The floor is yours. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well, sir. I understand Florida State money purchase record previously.
Yep.
But I also have to understand, Greg, that money purchase are told things to keep them donating money.
That is correct. There's a lot of layers of motivation behind a money purchase. Absolutely correct. Yep.
I do not see Florida State or Clemson getting into the Big Ten. I don't see the presidents lining up to do that.
I don't either. I do not either. But
I think the way the list is for the SEC, I think that actually looks right. That makes sense to me. The Big Ten list, the way you've got it laid out there, I think the first two look right.
Yeah.
Miami and Duke, both private schools, no state entanglements, no government overreach. Duke has the ability to self-fund itself through the media deal. Miami would obviously take a reduced share, just like Oregon and Washington, but I'm sure the media partners would be more than willing to pay for that to get matchups like Miami, Ohio State, Miami, Michigan, Miami, Penn State, Miami, Nebraska, Miami, USC, Miami, Oregon. Would
it be important for the Big Ten? I've asked this question before, and I really haven't gotten a good answer. But when we're talking about Big Ten additions in the future, if they're allowed to have additions in the future, they're bland. How important is it for the Big Ten to add public universities? Because this is something that in this information back and forth from the Florida State Money Perch, this is something that he mentioned about the Big Ten, that they would want to make sure that they would add a public university in their next. And if you look at the public universities that would be available, willing, the list kind of shrinks if the Big 12 schools are not on that list for the reasons he gave. And if Georgia Tech is not on that list for reasons he gave, I'm just telling you what he told us. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions and our beliefs. But again, I think Miami, huge brand, 5 national championships, competed in the national championship game last year. Clearly, Mario Cristobal has them on the up. You get a great blend with Duke. Duke, brings academics and the number 1 basketball brand.
Yeah.
So you're getting you're getting the best basketball brand, a really good football brand for your media partners, and you're getting Miami, whose research is on the upswing, the U Health system. Michigan, the University of Michigan, really likes the U Health genetic system that they've got there. And if you can get Duke to join the Big Ten Academic Alliance and Cancer Research Consortium, that raises everybody's research money.
Yeah.
But most importantly, what I think adding Miami and Duke to the Big Ten does, Greg, is it gives Notre Dame pause.
That was gonna be my question to you. Let's say that the Florida State money perch happens to be correct, because I think he would say, he would give the odds of Florida State and Clemson going to the SEC much greater odds than the Big Ten, obviously, right? So let's say the SEC quick strike list would be North Carolina State, Clemson, and Florida State, and Miami and Duke to the Big Ten. All right, let's say that happens. Now, how does Notre Dame perceive itself? How does it perceive the ACC going forward, their independent going forward, and the Big Ten going forward? Miami and Duke.
Well, here's my thinking on it. Adding Miami and Duke, right now Duke is a member, and we've talked about it before. They're a member of the Ivy Public library system, as is Stanford, as is MIT, and all the Ivy League schools. So if Duke were to join the Big Ten, they would have to leave that and join the Big Ten Academic Alliance, which is the Big Ten's library system, effectively. So obviously that would be a huge boost for everybody's research dollars in the conference. But not only that, it would weaken the IPLC, because Duke does like $1.5 billion in research every year.
Yeah.
They're one of the largest research, even though they're a small private school, they're one of the largest research universities in the United States in terms of research expenditures. So I think Notre Dame looks at this, and if those 6 schools leave the ACC, the ACC is effectively done. I mean, it can backfill, but it doesn't have the prestige that it had previously.
Mohr,
Yeah.
The question I have, and I think this question's going to have to be asked, and I think it will be asked a lot here in the next couple of days, couple weeks. If this, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but if this Saving College Sports Act, if it looks like it's going to pass. Now, it looks like it. Now we got a $5 holler. Thank you so much across the green. I appreciate your generosity. Thank you for coming on in. I appreciate it. This only passes. This is across the green super chat. If this only passes if 60 senators agree, why not add schools from a variety of states to essentially buy the senators' votes? Utah, Arizona, Kansas, Virginia, North Carolina. I mean, that's one way of trying to kill the bill, right? But it might be a little too late. I don't know. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. It also has to pass. It has to pass the House. So adding a school from Duke, SCC, adding a school from North Carolina. There's a lot of congressional seats. Adding Tallahassee. There's some congressional seats that you would add in there. But my main question is this. What can the Big Ten and the SEC do if this gets 60 votes in the Senate, it gets kicked over to the House, and people are starting to make, and it looks like it might get that 219 votes. What can the SEC and the Big Ten do at that point? Because they look at this thing as complete destruction of those 2 conferences.
Well, it really is. It's taken their sovereignty away, and Section 205. I think at that point the Big Ten and the SEC have to move to invite schools. You have to get them grandfathered in before the bill can pass. And
they would have to go silo, right? If they went silo, if they completely broke away from the NCAA, what does this bill do to those 2 conferences? Like, that's what I don't understand.
That's a great question, Greg, and I don't have a great answer for you.
I don't either.
I don't know, but I do know with Section 205, the way it's written, they basically have to get these schools at least invited into the conference before the bill passes to grandfather them in. And I think taking Miami and Duke makes Notre Dame and Stanford take a second look at the Big Ten, and that gets you to 22 in the Big Ten. And then if the Big Ten wants to go to 24, then you can look towards the public schools. Then you can look towards a Georgia Tech or a Utah or a Kansas or a University of Virginia. But, I just, Clemson and Florida State, much respect to them and their athletic programs. I don't see the Big Ten presidents lining up and approving those two schools. I do, however, see them lining up and approving a Miami and a Duke.
I agree. I would agree with you, and I think you know that because we've had 1,000 discussions on this. Yeah, I would agree with you, sir.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right,
guys.
I do appreciate your call, Moen. Thank you very much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Great call. Moen After Dark, the Buckeye. Beautiful call. Does a great job. College Football Mafia show. Go check it out. Go check it out. The phone lines are open. Thank you, Moen.
Call from
Tristan Fives.
Tristan 5, can you hold on for just 1 minute, please?
Yes.
I very much appreciate it. We've got a $2 holler from Christopher Hooter. It's not mine. It's the Florida State Money Perch. If your 4 and 2 equals 20 each happens, Big 12 and ACC merge. Well, the Big 12 and the ACC are allowed to merge under this bill. The Big 12 and the ACC are allowed to merge, and they are allowed to create their own Super League under this bill, and they would not affect the antitrust exemption that is given to them, somehow given to them. So maybe they would merge. I don't know. The rest of that very well could happen. Christopher Hooter, thank you for the $2 holler. I very much appreciate it, sir. We've got OBD Don. Tristan 5, just hold on for another minute, please. I appreciate it. OBD Don, Super Chat, $5 holler. Hold on, I'm getting a message. Woo! Hold on. It's a live show. Hold on. Sorry, Tristan. Hold on.
No problem, Greg.
Okay, we're probably going to have a part 2 on this live show. Not tonight. A little bit of a chatter behind the curtain gave a look at this show tonight, and they just and this the term that was used was pretty much accurate. This is somebody that has no association that I know of. I'm pretty sure that doesn't have any association with the Florida State Money Perch. I just got that. I can't show it to you. So I don't know. Yeah. Now that's kind of shook me up a little bit. Anyways, OPD done. Hopefully this damn bill doesn't get backdated. Can they do that ex post facto? Is that what backdated means? Is that a law term, ex post facto? I have no idea. Tristan 5, thank you. OPD done. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Tristan 5, thank you for your patience. I very much appreciate it. The floor is absolutely yours.
Hey, Greg, thanks for taking my call. I don't mind waiting. This is all very exciting stuff. Listen, I wanted to say, first of all, that Moen's analysis, I think, was just spot on. The idea that, the Big Ten, I don't think that they're going to be angling for state universities exclusively or even prioritizing that. I mean, they want to get Notre Dame. That's a private. That's their number one future addition. They've already taken USC. Miami looks like a strong possibility, and as well as now we're saying Duke. They're not going to the private label on a university is not going to scare off the Big Ten. I don't even think it matters to them personally. Now the SEC, if just judging by how it's currently composed, it does appear that matters to the SEC. The only private in the conference currently is Vanderbilt. Every other school is a state university. So I think that the SEC is the only conference where that might matter. That's just my personal opinion. This is similar to your big scoop, Greg, except it doesn't have Virginia. It's got NC State instead of Virginia. And the NC State edition makes total sense. I've always felt, I even said it in previous calls, that everyone understands that they got to take NC State if they take North Carolina. It's just the way it has to be. And here we are talking about it. And I think the SEC, if they were to do what you have posted here, Greg, I know you're not saying this. This is from the Florida State Money Perch.
Yeah.
If this is how it unfolds, the SEC is not going to stop at 20. I think that they're going to get one of the Virginia schools, maybe both, if they both want to come, and they still need another state, and I'm thinking that Kansas could still be in the play as a possibility for them. So, but this is obviously like a transformational. If they were to get this, my goodness, look at those schools. That would be amazing for them. And another factor in all of this, Greg, is that Duke realistically can't get into the SEC if North Carolina and NC State are going into the SEC. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The SEC's model welcomes two from the same state. No one gets three. As it stands today, no one gets three schools in. Now that can change in the future, but it won't be North Carolina causing that change. It would be either Florida or Texas. So anyway, I just wanted to give you those observations, get your feedback on that, and see what you had to say about all that.
Well, I pretty much agree with everything you said on that. There's so many, again, we've talked about this. There's so many different variables with all this. And now we're throwing in the saving, what are we calling it? Protecting College Sports Act. That has thrown a whole nother wrinkle into all of this. It's like you've got the Board of Governors of the state of North Carolina. No conference would take three schools from the state of North Carolina, but yet, there's so many different variables that are going on right now.
Yeah. And Greg, look at, you have to talk about, when you look at this bill, you have to talk about the rule of unintended consequences. This bill may further motivate the SEC to go into a silo.
Yeah.
And if they go into a silo and they have this bill looming where, hey, expansion is going to be cut off in the near future, they're not going to be able to expand, that's going to further motivate schools that want to potentially be in the SEC to go ahead and make the move. And I would say the same thing for the Big Ten. Schools that want to make that move are going to be motivated to make it faster now. Right? So this bill is seemingly targeting the Big Ten and the SEC, but it might be secretly helping them or unintentionally helping them get some of their expansion targets.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, I just think it's all very interesting. You're doing a great job, Greg. You keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you, Tristan 5. Beautiful call.
All right, bye-bye.
Call from
Rick?
Rick, can you hold on for one moment? We got breaking news.
Of course.
I do appreciate it, sir. Breaking news. Breaking news. Everybody hang on. We've got breaking news. Breaking news, Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, on the Senate floor, Senator Tommy Tuberville, Republican Alabama, says he cannot support the Protect College Sports Act as he stands between two displays. One on the right, his Narrow Student Athlete Act, and on the left, the PCSA. I think the bill goes too far. And here is Tuberville. Now, you know he talks, he's obvious. Look, this does not come as a surprise. This is the Southeastern Conference position and the Big Ten position. But Tuberville is talking with those with SEC interests. Federal takeover of college sports. Government-controlled conference realignment. That's how the SEC looks at this. Caps on student-athlete compensation. Government-controlled TV contracts. That's how the Southeastern Conference looks at it. Doesn't fix the transfer portal. That is how the Southeastern Conference looks at it. Opens the door to endless lawsuits. That's how the Southeastern Conference looks at it. Tommy Tuberville on the floor. This federal takeover of college sports. That is how the Big Ten and the SEC looks at this bill. Right or wrong, that's how they perceive it. That is your breaking news. Rick, the floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. If the SEC grabs 4 state schools, the one that the money Perch believes they'll grab, what's the problem with why is the Big Ten feel the need to have to go up to privates only?
I'm sorry, what was that? Why would the Big Ten feel what?
The need to have to go after private schools only. Why can't they go after state schools?
I think they can go after state schools.
Okay. I got the impression that you were saying that Duke and Miami were the only...
First of all, the Florida State money perch, Florida State's perception is part of their reasoning was that the Big Ten would look at some public universities, and in Clemson and Florida State, at least from Florida State perspective, they think they are in the running on that quick strike list, and one of the reasons is because they are a public university. And the other public universities are not on the list for reasons that he gave. I just asked Mohr the question, do you think having public universities on the list, do they need it for the Big Ten blend? The only thing I've said is, and I've been told this a million different ways, Florida State is not in that first couple of tiers for a Big Ten candidate, although they would be a great blend for Miami. So that I think that's why Florida State is on any Big Ten list, because the Miami-Florida State thing would be dynamic. It would give a great blend, public-private. So I think I have no reason for there not to be public universities on the Big Ten list.
Okay, and I agree, because I think Virginia would be very tempting for the Big Ten.
Yes, and he gave reasons why he thinks Virginia cannot be on this list, because they don't think Virginia could strike quickly. they're not in position to be.
And then the other thing,
Go ahead.
when you and Mohr were chatting, you had the breakdown of the schools going where, the same way we just said, with the 4 going to the SEC, and Miami and Duke to the 10, to make it 20. What's that lead? Who's Notre Dame going to play?
Yeah.
I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC would be in silos, right?
I think they would have to be, because he's talking about how this is a strike against the bill, where you're really going to go against this bill. You're going to have to go silo. Now, I don't even know, Rick. Can I ask you a question, Rick?
Of course.
Because I don't have an answer to this. Moen did not have an answer to this. No one has even offered me an answer to this, and I think this is the most important question out there. And I'm not blaming anybody for not having an answer, but I think it's something that should be asked, and let's figure it out. If this bill passes, as it's written, kind of, most of it, and the Big Ten and the SEC goes to their silo and have their own conference governance, what does that do to how the bill affects them? Does the bill still affect them? Does it not affect them? Does it sort of affect them? Does going silo protect them? I mean, how?
Well,
I don't know. Go ahead, sir.
You have to define what you mean by going silo.
Okay, this time I'll define it. This time I will define it. Absolutely complete, 100% breakaway from the NCAA. That is how I'm defining it tonight for this particular discussion. Now answer.
Yes. Yeah, I think they could both form their own corporations. That's basically what,
Okay.
I think, in fact, I was kind of leaning toward what you were talking about yesterday, with the conference being in charge of the contracts and all, and then the individual schools having the players. It would be messy. It's going to be messy to construct this, but it's not something that can't be done. And absolutely, the Big Ten and the SEC would do it, because they're not going to share their money. They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and the little general aren't going to share your money.
Well, you mean the 3 quarters I have in my front pocket, all right?
Whatever it is, it's yours.
Yeah.
And they'll form a corporation. And I kind of like the idea that you had with the conferences, being the corporation, and then having, their subsidiaries, the teams.
Mm-hmm.
But inevitably, they're going to be employees, and they can't tap dance around it. And they're coming to a reality on it. They're coming to the end of the. You say, hey, they've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks. They've been talking about this for the last 6 years. They just hadn't been talking publicly.
Yeah.
Ever since Alston decision, they've been talking about it. They know what's coming down the road. The problem is, when you hit that end of the road and there's nowhere to turn, you can't go left, you can't go right, and you can't go backwards.
Yeah.
What you going to do?
Here's an example, Rick.
And they know all kinds of things they're not talking about. And
Rick,
that's basically.
Rick, here's a great example of what you just said. You said people have been talking about 6 years about this. That Ocho Capital deal that Utah did with Ocho Capital, according to Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan today on 97.5 KSL Sports, they have been talking about that deal for 3 years. 3 years. And they started talking about it because of payroll for the student athletes were only going to go up. So they knew they had to figure out a deal. You're right. These things have been being talked about for a long time, and now everything's coming at us at once. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the independent contractor isn't going to work. They've got 2/3. They meet 2/3 of the requirement, probably, for the independent contractor. Mm-hmm. But it's that last third that puts it right in the grave. And if they try to do it, the IRS is mm-hmm. going to just come back and annihilate them. So, and they know that. They know it. They're trying to work around it, and they can't do it. And they've been trying to work around it for a while. But like I said, I think silo is definitely doable, and I think they can pull it off. And I even think because they're silo and they become corporations of their own, they can work together on a playoff. That's strictly between the two of them. I'm a believer that can be done.
Okay.
So I think that's how the whole thing ends.
Okay.
and the rest of college football is everybody else and Notre Dame and UConn.
All right. I appreciate it, Rick. Beautiful call, Rick. Absolutely beautiful. We got more breaking news, more and more breaking news on this beautiful Tuesday night, June 16th.
From
Edward the Auburn Tiger.
Edward the Auburn Tiger, can you hold on for a moment, please? Edward the Auburn Tiger, can you hold on for a moment, please?
I sure can.
I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. We've got more breaking news. More breaking news. Everybody hang on. Everybody hang on for a moment, please. Ross Dellinger, Tuberville asked for unanimous consent to his bill, the Student Athlete Act, at which point Senator Maria Cantwell, one of the authors of the Protect College Sports Act, objects. Then Senator Ted Cruz is now objecting to Tuberville's motion. During his speech, Cruz said, "The wealthiest conferences continue to consolidate power and resources, while many mid-major programs increasingly serve as feeder systems for the sport's biggest brands." Interesting. Cruz said that if it was up to him, I'd happily pass Senator Tuberville's bill, which is a narrow bill that re-implements the one-time transfer and 5-year eligibility standard. But Cruz says to pass this body, you have to get 60 votes. So, very interesting indeed. The Senate is going at it right now. Edward the Auburn Tiger, thank you for calling. Thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Greg, as always, another great show. Appreciate the hard work and the commitment that you have to the sport and to the PATC family, sir. I commend you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Well, Greg, if you let's just go back. You know, when Oklahoma and Texas became members of the SEC, that didn't happen in a vacuum.
No.
That had been planned year, 2, maybe 3 years in advance. So fast forward where we are now. You know, they only come once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times in life where opportunities, everything lines up for it to happen. And I think right now probably the most excited person in college football sports is the president of Georgia, because he has a vision for the SEC to break away and go on its own. And given the state of college football being very unstable, from a legal point of view, it's unstable. It doesn't seem like any relief is going to come in the future. And then you throw on this new bill that's been processed through right now the Senate, and the decisions that everybody's made around it. What was probably planned 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's got to be sped up, Greg. The Big Ten and the SEC did not get to where they were by rolling the dice. And right now, in my opinion, and I believe I share the opinions of the president of Georgia, the red lines have been crossed. I mean, you're going after the sovereignty of these 2 leagues. You're going after the money of the 2 leagues. Whether this thing passes or not, I don't believe that Big Ten nor the SEC is sitting on their hand waiting for something to happen. I believe that they're being very proactive. I believe through the Florida State money perch, we're hearing that they are proactive. And given the speed by which this bill could pass, I firmly believe that time and that schedule, Greg, could be this year in terms of an announcement. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to join before 2028 like you're saying, but I believe they want to get that bun in the oven before everything goes down, especially on the realignment side. And this is not the first time that you've kind of indicated this. I think sometime last week during another call, something was said through a source that you had made or something that you had read. It kind of echoed this same sentiment that things are being sped up. And also, I read on 3 that they shared the same sentiment that this could be earlier than people think. And so I don't believe the Big Ten and SEC is waiting. I believe that the stars have aligned, that politically, especially with this Sorsby stuff that went down, and even though he's going to the pros, but still that drama, that precedence, that information of how something can happen like that has took place. I believe that they're making a move right now. And I believe, and I'm feeling in your conversation that you may be feeling yourself that you may be a little bit behind schedule and not be catching the tone and the tenor of what's happening in real time concerning this bill. Because it seems like something can break any moment. I mean, it could be between now and July, and I think you said July 1st. July 1st is where they have to announce, if they're going to leave the conference or not. I don't know if it's July 1st or June 1st.
No, that was before June 1st. Yeah.
June 1st, okay. But it seemed like right now all hands on deck, everything's thrown out the window, and we're having to make a move, given this win, given this motivation, given the landscape, given the urgency. I mean, there's, like you said, there's uncertainties. Is this going to go into effect? Even though they tried to break away, I'm thinking they have to believe that the earlier they do this, with the bill still being discussed, the better chances of it being cleaner in terms of a breakaway, in terms of a realignment. It seems like to me everything has to be a lot quicker than it saying. And then this money Perch mentioning this list, the quick list. I don't think none of that's by coincidence. I don't think he's just talking in the vacuum.
Yeah.
And so I want to say that, and I want to ask you this question concerning the playoff. You had mentioned some months ago, whatever, that the SEC had might have left themselves out when it comes to the college football playoff as it stands right now. Is that the case? And if it is, that reinforces them being able to go into this total breakaway and not have to, serve any repercussions of them signing a document for the college football playoffs.
All right, I'll answer that. I'll answer that. Edward the Auburn Tiger. Beautiful phone call. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. Beautiful phone call, Edward. I think. Great call, Edward. If I had to put my chips in the middle of the table, I would say that now Rick, our earlier caller, he thinks that the Big Ten and SEC might be able to, I think what he was saying is that CFP contract can be pushed away somehow. If I had to put my chips in the middle of the table, I would say that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to have to go with the playoff contract until 2031. But, contracts are meant to be, sometimes can be broken somehow. Who knows? I would wager that the playoff situation... Right now, we are the 12-team playoffs until 2031, and we're going to keep rolling with that. We might go to 24, but the whole breakaway, have your own playoffs, I think that's a really tough hurdle to overcome. I don't know how you would overcome it, but maybe there is a way. I would bet against it, but then again, my opinion might change a week from now, so we'll see what happens, Edward. Thank you so much for the phone call. OBD done. There is a point I want to get to here, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on a second.
Call from
Towtown Hawk.
Taytown Hawk. Thank you for calling. I do appreciate it, sir. Can you hold on for a minute? I'm behind with the very generous super chats, and then there's something that I want to put into the discussion. So can you hold on, sure. Taytown Hawk?
Sure thing, Greg.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, kind sir. We've got OBD Don, massive super chat. Holy smokes. I was going to do a certain type of live show today, but I had to scrap it all to do this live show. In my other live show, which is probably going to be tomorrow, the SEC and the Big Ten versus everybody, OBD Dunn might be making an appearance in our title screen. He might be climbing a mountain. He might be helping somebody up a mountain. Everybody's going to have to watch for tomorrow's live show. OBD Dunn, a massive $25 holler. This is for hour number 3. Thank you, OPD Dunn. Thank you for your incredible kindness. Not just generosity, but kindness in how you interact with the PATC family members in the chat room and myself. Your creative writing, it makes it all so much better. Thank you, OPD Dunn. Thank you very much. Christopher Hooter, $2 holler. $2 holler. only ends Rick's way if the SEC trusts the Big Ten governance. Well, they do not trust the Big Ten governance. And the Big Ten doesn't trust the SEC. Nobody trusts anybody. And that includes the Golden Gopher, the fat guy from Minnesota, trusting all of you evil programs out there. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $2 holler. Before we get to the phone call, Tate Town Hawk phone call, I am very interested in what he has to say. I do want to point out a couple of comments here in the comment section. And of course, now I can't find it because I am the original Minnesota moron. Shoot. Somebody said, here it is. Mohr Simmons says Georgia president is spot on. The University of Georgia president, Jerry Moorhead. Edward the Auburn Tiger mentioned him. And then Kenneth Maynard, the Pirate Gator Maynard, says president of Georgia is a moron. Okay? Two different interpretations of the president of the University of Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs. You know what's really important about Jerry Moorhead? Do you know what's really important about Donde Plowman, the Chancellor of Tennessee, the Lady of Tennessee? You can have the perception that they are a genius, that they are a moron, and it doesn't even matter because they've got tenure. They have been there. And when you are a president and you've been there for a while, you become one of the leaders of the conference. The newbies do not have the floor in these conferences. That's not how it works. It's not how it works in the House, in Congress. That's not how it works in the Senate. The more tenure you have, the senior senator versus the junior senator of a state, more often than not, you have more influence in your party or whatever. In the Southeastern Conference, University of Georgia President Jerry Moorhead, he's been there since 2013. Donde Plowman, the Chancellor of Tennessee, the Lady of Tennessee, who I think is the most interesting voice in the room, has been at Tennessee since 2019. So they have the voices. They have the important voices. I just wanted to point that out. Tay-Town Hawk, thank you for your patience. The floor is absolutely yours, sir.
Sure, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. I guess first off the bat, just like to point out that tenure doesn't always mean you've got the best decision making.
That's true.
I think of, in particular, didn't the Pac-12 have 3 of their longest tenured presidents in control of most of their financial decisions, including giving a broad brush to a guy to not seek out a deal with their conference network and put the communications and TV offices in downtown, where was that? Downtown San Francisco on the water? Probably the most expensive
costs a lot of money.
place on the planet.
Yep. And again, just because you've been there a while doesn't mean you have the best decision making. I'm just saying you're the one who is likely going to be making the decisions. And that's why I'm listening to the voice of Plowman and Moorhead, no matter if I disagree or agree, because they're the ones that are going to be doing the talking. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, see, I had a couple things for today. One was going to be in reference to the Cody Campbell debacle that has finally come to conclusion. I was actually on the other side of the argument. I wanted the kid to play, not because I think he deserved the shot, but purely from a competitive point of view. I think he was going to have an absolute nutcase, and he was going to have not a great year because he's missed so much time being away in, his 30-day vacation or whatever it may have been. So that was one thought.
Okay.
But the other thing, we've been all this week, two things. We've been talking about not morality, but integrity. I keep hearing that word.
Yeah.
Tossed around, and it just has my brain just turns red, lava red, and you think, well, why? It's a great thing for us to keep integrity of the things. That passed 20 years ago. That passed 20 years ago. When people were talking about kick Texas Tech out of the conference, you know what? Penn State didn't get kicked out of their conference, and they got in trouble for something way, way, way beyond something that having to do with monetary gains or integrity of the game. It was something that, moral-wise, was probably the worst thing that could happen because, it involved people under the age of, kids.
It was an evil, evil, evil acts. Yes.
Yeah, and what penalties and what accountability? The person who, yes, committed the crime, yes, but people who covered it up from the administration side, I mean, it's just like anything else. It's a little late to say, oh, well, we're going to draw the line here. I think that has way bye because everybody wants to skate by, and I'm guilty of it too. If my team got in trouble, I'd want to have leniency, but it seems like we're getting further and further and further down the road, and I think we're way past it. At this point, actually, I'd like to see him. I think Sankey has been asking basically over the last week for an antitrust exemption, basically for the SEC within this college bill.
Yeah.
And he's doing because he has absolutely no intention of joining, but I can see him in the Big Ten wanting to take that and wanting to take the playoff money 6 years down the road, and then they want to be insulated from any lawsuit.
Yes.
Yeah, well, guess what? That's not how the world works. You can't have your conference and take the money too. So he's between a rock and a hard place. I think he and PTDR, because sooner or later you're okay. Either break away. You break away now, that's fine. You can go do that. Then guess what? You're a professional sports organization attached to a college, which is basically where we're at anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You should have to pay taxes just like every other profit-seeking corporation in America, or not, depending on how good your accountant is. And go on down the road. Make the athletes professionals, have their contracts, and actually have contracts that are enforceable so that situations like we had with the quarterback are less likely to happen, because there are serious consequences. I mean, this is when somebody says this is your job, these are your responsibilities, you know what are fireable offenses. And you break the rules, you know you're going to be gone. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, you're going to be gone if you do something like this in a professional manner. I do believe that's wire fraud, and or you're going to have associations with much more nefarious actors than, say, your buddy who's placing bets for you. It's going to be more like the people that got in trouble for setting up card games and professional basketball coaches just a few months ago. So yeah, it's the fact that we're sitting here thinking that doesn't go on. It's there. You know, it's got to be there. Just that these kids are probably more manipulated than professional seasoned people. I think there has to be some way to protect it. If you want to do that, then I think we should just rip off the Band-Aid. Everybody's an employee. Let's quit pretending and go on down the road. For that to happen, we would need to start with one school wanting that to happen. And that's the problem. No schools want that to happen.
Well, if you're not in the Big Two right now, and you're an athletic director, your department's going to get squeezed one way or the other. I mean, Utah, yes, they have an influx of capital, but I read the other day how many jobs are they scrapping in their department, and guess what? They're going to be giving over a third of their check every year.
Well, it might not work. It might not work. We'll see. But what I was saying, you're talking about I thought you meant student athletes becoming employers.
Or employees.
Employees. And no school that I know of wants to be the employer of these student athletes. Maybe the Big 12 should... I would love to see it. I would love a conference take that issue over and say, these students are going to be our employees. We're going to be the employers. And we're going to give them, all the benefits. They can unionize. We can do a CBA. I would love to see that happen, then see if that conference absolutely grow in stature over time. Right now, the problem with that is we don't have one school that wants to say, yes, we're willing to try it. We favor this. Not one school, not even the University of Minnesota wants to do that. So we're stuck on that issue because nobody wants to even do it.
Do you think at some point any of these big athletic departments actually did a financial study of what it would cost them on a year-to-year budget if they had to pay out some sort of benefit package? And I don't even think it's actually the salary portion of the payment. They're worried about being subject to long-term risk for the health aspect care of the athletes post.
It's the worker comp cost.
Then you know what? If they're scared of that, then why don't you admit to that? That is, if it's that much of a fear for them now, I'd say that's ridiculous. They're not realizing or not. That's the only way that it's getting published. That there's a heavy cost physically for a lot of these people that go out there and wreck their bodies. And yeah. Believe me, at 47, I have days I don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. These, it's, and again, it sounds like a cop out, and maybe it is, but everything is so complicated because these athletic departments are not franchises, right? These athletic departments do not collect money and stock it away. They do not. They spend what they get, pretty much. They have a bunch of sponsors.
They have a small cash reserve. They do. They are allowed a small cash reserve as a nonprofit. But I understand what you're saying.
But what I'm saying is 90% of the sponsors sports, 90% of the student athletes and over do not bring revenue into does not bring revenue into the athletic department. Their cost is more than their revenue. It's been the football and the basketball revenue that has been paying for everything. And we all said that was fine because the athletic department, these universities were basically trying to grow more opportunities for the student athletes, more scholarships. So we've had all these student athletes get a scholarship, get all this great education. A lot of them would not have got access into college. Thank God they do through these sports. But now the student athletes are getting paid. Thank God they're getting paid, right? Finally. But it has put on more complications about how do we come up with the money to keep these Olympic sports going. We've got Title IX, and we've got 18 to 23-year-olds, predominantly 18 to 23-year-olds, which is different than other professional leagues, right? It's harder to construct a labor base that wants to fight for collective bargaining when they're in one day, out the next. It is incredibly more complicated than professional sports. It's not amateurism. It's not amateurism anymore, thank God. But it's not quite professional sports in the way that we think about other professional sports. It's somewhere in the middle, and it's very complicated. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think it's always complicated when it comes to kids, but it's quite easy when they need to figure out cash influx or selling off part of their athletic department to a third party. I mean, that's just me saying, it's all a question of motivation. Mm-hmm. When Harlan's butt is on the line, yeah, he'll get it figured out pretty quick. He'll do what he has to do to be necessary. But when it's about taking care of your quarterback that's wrecked his knee 3 years in a row, good. Best of luck to him. Yeah. There you go. Oh, we'll see you later. Bye. No, it's a joke. I mean, we sit here and we say, oh yeah, this is how we take care of our people, or I make the big decisions because I'm Mr. Important athletic director. No, you're not. You're just lucky where you're at. You just happen to luck into the job at the right time in history where you're getting paid and compensated more than anybody else who's ever done it before you. So don't act like you walk on water, and I don't expect them to, because most of these guys these days, they're not going to be there long term, and they know it. So they're just looking for the next contract, or trying to hop to a P2 athletic director's job, and then stay there and milk it for the salaries that they can get for as long as they can. So it's not about the student athletes. You got a senator sitting up there who says, "Oh, I'm here for integrity and to protect the game and to protect the student athlete." This is the same guy who said he was going to not leave. You'd have to carry him out in a pine tar box or something, a pine box. Isn't that what he said? Like the night before, and left his entire team 24 hours later, and then I think later on he left a group of his recruits at dinner, like in the middle of the hors d'oeuvres. He got up and said, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom," and got on plane and went to Cincinnati. I mean, come on. We talk about having adults in the room. There haven't been adults in the room when it comes to this stuff probably since maybe the 90s, before the TV money pretty much had people selling out. I mean, that's the problem. That's the true problem. There's so much money in the system, people get twisted. Absolutely, abandon, their beliefs. That's all I got.
All right, man. Tay-Town Hawk, love you when you call, sir. I very much appreciate it, my man.
Okay, I'm just getting warmed up for later.
Yeah. College Football Mafia. All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, sir.
We'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Christopher Hooter, $2 holla. Thank you, Christopher Hooter, for all your support. Very much appreciated. All this legislative uncertainty, we stay at college football playoff of 12 teams. Well, Christopher Hooter, that's a good point. However, they do have to December 1st to decide what the next playoff format is going to be, or if they're going to stay at 12. All of this legislative stuff, is this going to pass or not? We're going to know. We're going to know at the end of this month or at the end of July. We're going to know within the next 6 weeks, because they go on recess in August and then the political campaign. So we're going to know within the next 6 weeks. We're going to find out a lot in the next 6 weeks. So Everybody stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we follow this story and others. I do want to thank, I do want to thank Marcus Williams, Bruce Harris, Moen After Dark, Kenneth Maynard, OPD Dunn, Marcus Williams, OPD Dunn, Jeremy Nork, Caleb Ramirez, Christopher Hooter, Across the Green, Christopher Hooter, OPD Dunn, Christopher Hooter, and Christopher Hooter for all of your generosity, your super chats, becoming a member of our program. Thank you, everybody. All that helps us keep the lights on and grow the channel so we can maintain this every single day, talking college football to all of you, chopping it up. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. We also today, we did the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They were under the spotlight. Will Hammond, going to be the quarterback at some point. Can Kirk Francis, the transfer from Tulsa, keep it together in Lubbock, Texas before Will Hammond gets in? We talked about the great running back duo of Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams. Terrence Carter, the great tight end, came in the portal last year from Louisiana in the Sun Belt, was spectacular for the Red Raiders last year. You've got Ben Roberts, the linebacker. You've got the great transfer from the San Diego State Aztec, Trey White, who got 19.5 sacks over the last 2 years. What about Miami, the Red Hawks, Miami of Ohio, the best player in the conference? The Red Raiders brought him on, Adam Trick, 12.5 tackles for losses. Then all Big 12 conference, Bryce Polak lead the Big 12 in interceptions with 5. A stacked defense, a schedule that absolutely works. No Utah, no BYU, Texas Tech. Can they make it to the Big 12 championship game? Can they win the Big 12 championship once again? But who's going to be the quarterback? Can Will Hammond get there to week 3, week 4? That's September 18th, that Friday night, the Texas Tech Red Raiders against the Houston Cougars and Connor Wigman and Amari Thomas, the great wide receiver, and that tough defense that Willie Fritz has got established at Houston. That's a big Friday night game. Who's going to be the quarterback of the Red Raiders? We're going to find out. We cover everything in college football. Thank you for sticking with us. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 47 minutes. We are going to lock it up. Keep your head on a swivel for breaking news later tonight or tomorrow morning. We are going to cover everything here at Peek Around the Corner. Make sure before you leave, smash that like button. It helps us with the algorithm of YouTube so very much. Smash that like button before you leave and make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. Until next time, from all of us at PATC. To all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family,